going on, shooters? Back with another video. So I've gotten a lot of questions throughout the last few months about my process that I use as far as when I color grade my footage. So I figured today I'd do something a little bit different for you guys and take you through my step-by-step process on how I color grade my footage. Now for today's example, I'll be using FX30 footage in Final Cut, but the concepts and principles I use in today's video can be used in almost any editing software and used with any camera that you use, as long as you use the log picture profiles that they have in camera. So if you guys are ready, we're going to jump on the computer and get started. All right, and we are in Final Cut. I've got my clips in here that I'm going to use, and we're just going to set up a new project and we're just going to drop a clip in here. Like I said, we're going to be using some FX30 footage for a music video for a good friend of mine named Hugh Holla. We're just going to find a clip and put in here, and we'll actually put a few clips in here so I can show you this concept applied to a few different clips. All right, so there's two methods I'm going to be showing you today. The first method doesn't require any plugins whatsoever. The second method is going to require a plugin, but we'll get to that at that point in the video. Okay, so if I'm dealing with a lot of the same type of shots, like if this was an interview or something like that, or where the lighting and scenes and Kelvin levels don't change and stuff like that, then what I would do is usually take an adjustment layer, set it over top of the whole entire timeline, and then do my grading and corrections through the adjustment layer. But for the sake of today's video, we're not going to do that, and we're going to do each clip individually. So you can access everything from right here. And what you're first going to want to do is you're going to go into your inspector tool. The first thing we want to do with a blank clip like this is we want to actually have our video scopes up. So what you'll want to do is you scroll over here to where it says view, and then you can hit video scopes here or Command 7. If you look at the clip, you see where everything's kind of right here in the middle, real compressed. We want to bring some of this dynamic range back, right? So you have your shadows here, and then you can mess with your highlights over here on the white dot. So shadows on the black dot, highlights on the white dot.
That's racist.
So first thing we want to do, I mess with the shadows here. So we bring our shadows back a little bit. As you can see, if I bring it all the way down, it crushes everything. So we don't want that. So when you have your video scopes open, some of you guys might have this in RGB. You don't want that. Have it in waveform and then have it in Luma. You want your Luma over here kind of hovering in between 0 and 100. You don't necessarily want your clip toting that line and really hovering over it, but you want it in between your 0 and 100 mark. So take your exposure tool and drag your shadows right to about there. Then we want to do it the same with the highlights. So go over to the white dot, want to grab that, click hold, and we're going to drag that up. And as you can see, it really brings some of that dynamic range back. And as you can see, as it brought my highlights up, it still brought those shadows back up a little bit. So we want to mess with that just a little bit more, bring those shadows down. And you just want to keep playing with this a little bit, because it's a balancing act, especially with this FX30 footage that I'm shooting in log here. I like what I'm seeing here, and we're going to come back to this a little bit later, but the next thing I do is we go to our color curves. This is just real subtle. So I place a dot in the middle, I place a dot right here at this point, a little bit up top, and then another dot at this point, a little bit on the bottom. And I sort of take that Luma curve and make sort of an S curve with that. And I do it ever so slightly. As you can see, if I really take this and I drag it, it really saturates the image. We don't want that. We want to try to keep some of our colors. So we make a slight S curve with that. As you can see, kind of brings those greens, makes them more green, you know, real slight S curve. We don't want to mess with that too much. Now that we've got that down pat, now you see this image is still a little bit saturated. We want to bring some of that color back, right? So that's where we go into our actual color wheels, right? Now, as you notice right here, we've got our temperature. If you messed around and maybe got your temperature off while you were shooting, you can take this tool and sort of mess with it and get your footage back to the right Kelvin level. And as you can see, you don't want to go too crazy with this. If I bring it too far to the left, makes the footage real bluish. If I bring it too far to the right, makes it more teal. So we don't want that. We want to find a healthy medium. I like my Kelvin levels that I was using on set, so we're actually going to Command Z this and not even mess with that. Tint's good, we don't want to mess with that. What we want to mess with is the global here. So we want to bring our saturation up a little bit, and you want to really be subtle with this, right? As you see, as I gradually bring it back, you see his skin tones coming back. If I bring it all the way to the right, you got this. If I bring it all the way to the left, it makes it black and white. So we want to keep that real subtle. I like it at about 1.6, 1.5, right? And so now we can go back and take a look at this clip. And honestly, you could take this and just run with it. You could run with this color grade and be pretty much solid. But what I like to do is I like to throw a little twist in this. So now that you've got this pretty much color corrected and back to somewhat of a Rec 709, right? What I like to do is I like to add a LUT on top of this. So we're gonna grab our LUT tool, custom LUT tool here. We're gonna drag that on top of there. And then whatever LUTs you have listed, you can use a lot of them. What I'm gonna use today is a couple Jerry PhD LUTs that I've had laying around. He's got like Cool Night, King Von, stuff like that. And you can just sort through these LUTs and really, you know, as you can see with that FX30 log footage, it really changes the whole mood and tone of the video based on which one. And you don't have to use this one. Whatever log LUTs that you have, you can kind of use this. And then what you have here is this mix tool, right? And you can really sort of blend what you got there, right? So I'm gonna find the one I like the most, which is this King Von one right here. And so we're gonna scroll and just bring that back just a little bit. That way, you know, we're not compressing our image too much. And then if you disengage that and see what we got and then see what it brings it to, it really gives it sort of that real moody tone that we're looking for, right? And so you can disengage this whole effect at the effects checkbox here to see where it was at and then see what you brought it back to, right? So if we disengage all of this and just go step by step what we did our color board first right here, then we did our color curves where we put the S curve in there, you know, bring some of that dynamic range back just a little bit slightly. Then we wanted some of our color back, so we hit the color wheels, mess with the saturation a little bit. So there you see it brought some of the greens back, some of the reds, some of the blues, a little bit of his skin tone. And then we just applied the LUT on top of that and brought the mix down to about 60%, a little under 60%, maybe 50%, just depends. And what you could also do is you could put your LUT on and then go back and redo a lot of this stuff. So if I take this off, then you see how that LUT looks with it. You could kind of grade towards the LUT, but that's sort of working backwards. Some people like to work backwards. I don't necessarily like doing that. So if I Command Z it, this is what I got. I'm pretty much happy with what I got here. So what I can do is I can take this, and what I do is I Command C the clip that I've got the grade on. And then if I want to apply it to this next clip right here, see I've got this slow motion clip right here. So what I can do is I can take this, click it, and then I put Command Option V. And then it takes the same thing that I just applied and applied to here. Now, what it did with this clip is it looks like it crushed him a little bit. So I want to try to tweak this a little bit and bring him back a little bit. So what we can do with that is we can go into, you can do this several ways. You can maybe mess with the mix of the actual LUT that you have on it, but I don't want to mess with that LUT because I like that look. So we're going to keep that at 60%. We'll go to color grade and maybe bring some of those shadows back up a little bit. I don't want this shirt to go too gray, so we might bring some highlights up just a little bit more. I don't want to bring it up too much because as you can see, we've got some stuff right over here hovering at around 100%, which you can see according to the Luma, it's right here in this. So I don't want to blow this out too much. But so we bring it up just a little bit, and now you can see his skin tones are a little bit back to where I want them there. And now if we play this clip again, it's pretty much within the same tone and correctness of this right here. All right, so like I said, we can take this concept and we can Command Option V on this third clip, and you'll see what that looks like. You know, if we like that, we can tweak it, or you can do a whole new grade with it. It's all up to you on how you want to do it. I want to bring these highlights up just a little bit more, and then maybe the shadows down just a tad, just to bring that down. And then you pretty much have this, right? Second method we're going to use is the plugin that I use for most of my footage called Dehancer Pro. This is a film emulation plugin tool designed for video editors and filmmakers to give your footage a film stock look. I have a review of this plugin in the description, as well as a link to this plugin. And if you want 10% off, you can use my promo code DaVinci24. But we're just going to drop this Dehancer Pro into the footage. And as soon as you drop it in, it's going to see your source. So your source will either be Rec 709 if you brought your footage back to a Rec 709 look, or you can choose what camera you have here. So you got Apple Log Gamma for those of you guys who shoot on Apple. You got Cineon Film Log, but we're going to choose which camera we got here. So you can go by vendor. We use the Sony FX30, so we'll go to Sony. But as you can see, it's got plenty of cameras here: Sigma, Red, Confinity. But once we find our corresponding camera, we've got the Sony here. So if you go to Sony, we've got all these cameras here. It's got the 6000 series, the Alpha series, but we've got the FX30 here. That's what we're going to use. And as you can see, there's still a lot of blue here, so we want to bring some of that back. So we're going to mess with our exposure just a little bit, just to sort of bring it back. It's a little blown out. You've got a temperature tool here. We're going to mess with that. All right, I like where that sits at about. 7 or 8 maybe. Yeah, we'll keep it right there for now. Let's see. Let's go to our tint. I like the tint at about a 7, so we'll keep it there. All right, so now is where we get into our film profiles, right? So Dehancer Pro has over 60 different profiles. What really drew me to this plugin was the Kodak Vision 3 film profiles that they come with it. You've got the 50D, you've got the 500T, you've got the Vision 3 250D, which was on it but when we first started, and you've got the 200T. I like the look that I'm getting out of the Vision 3 50D look, so we're going to go with that. You can mess with the push-pull on that if you like. I tend to keep that in the middle. I don't like to go too crazy with that. And so now you go to our expand section here, and you can mess with the black point and white point, which is sort of similar to the exposure tool that we used in the non-plugin method. So we're going to take our black point and we're going to push that forward a little bit. That way we can bring our darkness right below that, right above that 0 mark right there. That's what we want. We want our lumen right around there. We don't want it hovering too close to it. That's just my opinion. I don't like it hovering too close, but we'll take the white point and we'll move this back, which sort of brings your highlights up a little bit. Like I said, you wanted it around that 100 marker there on the Luma scale, and I don't like it knocking on the 100. I don't like it knocking too much on the 100 marker. Just sort of around there. And then we go down here and we're going to, first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on our print profile that we want to use. So you got the Fujifilm 3513 print film, you've got the Kodak 2383 film print, or you can just take what you've got and do the Kodak glossy paper. The glossy paper can work just fine. You can use the 2383 print if you want, or the 3513. Me personally, I like what that 2383 print does for me. We're going to disengage this grain right now. I don't really like that. And as you can see, once we engage that film print, we want to mess with that expansion just a little bit more. Bring that back down to 0. Let's bring that white point back down a little bit. And then once I have this, you notice everything's still a little bit saturated. So what I like on this is you can actually adjust your film density, or I mean your color density on the film print section to sort of bring some of those colors back if you want. But if you don't like that and you don't feel like it's enough, see, like as you can see, it brought a lot of that red back with that color density, but the skin tones are still kind of saturated a little bit. I'm not a real fan of that. So we're going to go to the film developer tool and we're going to actually enable that. And then we're going to actually boost the color with the color boost tool here. And as you can see, the more I bring that out, the more his skin tones are starting to come back a little bit. Now I don't want to go too crazy with this, because once you do that, all his skin tones start getting orange and everything sort of looks blown out. So we don't like that. We want to bring that back. And I like what I saw at around 85%. I like what I see at 85% there. So if you take a look at that, everything's looking a little bit more better. And you can sort of compare and contrast. If you disengage the Dehancer tool, you see where it was at and you see what it's back to. And I love this look here. This sort of gives that real film emulation stock look here. And then what I also love about this tool is you can actually take this and save it as your own LUT. So there's a LUT generator tool here. You can actually export that and use it as your own LUT. Right now, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to focus on just getting this footage back to where I want it to be. And so you've got a lot of other things you can use with this Dehancer Pro plugin. You've got the film damage, you've got the film breath, gate weave, overscan, things of that nature. I'm going to stay away from a lot of that stuff. You know, don't really need any of that right now. Vignette tool's pretty neat. You've got a film compression tool that's pretty neat. If you want to mess with that, you can sort of mess with the color density some more on that if you want to. I don't really like to go crazy with this. It's there if you want to use it, but I like what I see right now. And then just like with the last method, you can actually either take this, Command C it, and then go to your other clips and Command Option V it, and then it puts that same thing to your other clips, and then you can tweak from there. Or like I said, if you've got a lot of the same clips, you can put an adjustment layer over top of everything and then just apply all of your color grading to the adjustment layer. That way you don't have so many plugins on each clip and then you're bogging down your CPU. So now that I have this done, I'm going to render this out, and then I'm going to show you guys a quick little montage of the comparisons between each method that I used. And there you have it, guys. That's my method on how I color grade log footage from my FX30 in Final Cut. I have the non-plug-in method, and then I have the method where I use Dehancer Pro to get that film emulation look out of my footage. Appreciate you guys stopping by. If you made it this far in the video and you got anything out of it, I appreciate you if you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps me bring out more content for you guys like this. It's been another one from your boy DaVinci HD, reminding you the only reason that piece of art that you want isn't out is because you haven't pressed record. See you guys on set. Peace out.